This episode of the Demonic Compendium contains spoilers for the following games. Viewer discretion is advised. Welcome to a well-armed new episode of the Demonic Compendium, the show where I discuss the mythology, design, and game history of your favorite Megami Tensei demons. As I continue to battle the summer heat, I figured I might need a bit more in my arsenal. So load up that quiver and get ready to sharpen your mind and blades, because today, we're looking at Chi-Yu. Chi-Yu is a monstrous and powerful war god in Chinese mythology that seems to date back as far as the 3 sovereigns and 5 emperors period, which goes back to nearly 3000 BC. Chi-Yu was birthed as a powerful warrior with the head of a bull, bronze skin, multiple eyes and arms, and 81 brothers, which just sounds like a Christmas shopping nightmare if you ask me. Chi-Yu ruled over the 9 Li tribes, who were proud, dedicated metalworkers rather than most other tribes that focused on agriculture. In an attempt to conquer fertile farmlands and feed his troops, Chi-Yu rallied his forces against Huangdi, otherwise known as the Yellow Emperor, who later became associated with Huanglong, the central golden dragon of Chinese folklore. Chi-Yu was able to summon a powerful fog over the battlefield to give his warriors the advantage, but Huangdi was able to invent a chariot compass thing that cut through the mist. Chi-Yu and Huangdi fought until their weapons shattered. Huangdi eventually captured the bull god and ordered that he be executed by beheading. After his death, it was believed that it rained blood for 3 years, and a maple tree sprouted from where Chi-Yu's body was buried. While this tale may seem like the story of a monstrous bull demon who was vanquished by a mighty heroic emperor, Chi-Yu is remembered with some reverence in his own right. He aimed to do what was best for his people and was believed to have invented several weapons, including the halberd, sword, and in some stories even the crossbow. Chi-Yu's compendium entry from Shin Megami Tensei 5 Vengeance refers to him as a Chinese demon king, often depicted with a bull's head, 6 or 8 arms, and 4 eyes. He invented many weapons and commanded an invincible army. Seeking control of the mortal world, he fought with the Yellow Emperor Huangdi. Though he was winning, the Yellow Emperor ultimately defeated him. Huangdi then had Chi-Yu's head buried thousands of li apart from his body. Hey, if you like what I'm doing on the show, please consider commenting, subscribing, maybe even checking out the Patreon. It honestly does help a lot. Thank you so much. Moving on. Design-wise, Chi-Yu is a relatively faithful take on the way the god was described. He's got the bull head, complete with several eyes, while having 8 arms and 4 legs. In 4 of his arms, he wields a sword, axe, shield, and guandao, all of which he supposedly invented. His armored platelet gown seems similar to traditional Chinese armor, and the color hints that perhaps it's made of bronze, like the legends say his skin is made of. This honestly led me to wonder why Kaneko's Chi-Yu is green in the franchise, and while the color isn't an exact match, it could be in reference to how copper and alloys made from it, such as bronze, eventually oxidize and gain a green coloration known as a patina. As far as game history goes, Chi-Yu has had quite a few big roles, many of which are naturally connected to weapons in some way, shape, or form. In Persona 3, Chi-Yu is unlocked for fusion by completing the Tower Social Link with Mutatsu, which, somewhat unrelated, I just want to throw this out, is one of my favorite social links in the entire franchise. His heart item is the Barbaric Bracers that increases your dodge rate, and combining him with a Nile weapon creates the Quintessence Bow, which is the best bow in the game. In fact, it's the platonic ideal of a bow, which means the ideal of the bow loves you, but it's not in love with you. Of course, that was all reworked in Persona 3 Reload, where Chi-Yu no longer provides you with the bracers, because now he just gives you the Bull Warrior Horns item that you need to craft the best bow and barbaric bracers at the antique shop. Because Reload just decided they needed to make that entire system so much dumber and worse, apparently. Chi-Yu is also needed to make the Quintessence Bow in Persona Q Shadow of the Labyrinth, where it's still the best bow for Yukari, though in Persona Q2 New Cinema Labyrinth, her best bow was changed to the Origin Bow, has nothing to do with Chi-Yu, and is apparently also the platonic ideal of a bow. Chi-Yu is a fairly unique fusion in Persona 5. He's still unlocked for fusion by completing a Confidant, this time with Ryuji Sakamoto of the Chariot Arcana, but an element I love is that the recipe to make him makes a lot of sense. You have to use Hecatoncheires, who has multiple hands, and then several personas wielding different weapons, like Thor with his hammer, Yoshitsune with his katana, Cucullin with his spear, and White Rider with his bow. It's a neat little detail that I actually really appreciate. Sending Chi-Yu to the electric chair in the vanilla game transforms him into the Arms Master skill card, which makes perfect sense, but this was changed in Royal, having him turn into the Repel Fizz card, or the Drain Fizz card, if an alarm is in effect. While the bull-headed demon doesn't have any sort of significant story role in Shin Megami Tensei 5, they do have a noteworthy presence in the game's last big dungeon, the Temple of Eternity. Many of the demons in this dungeon have unique ways of interacting or engaging in battle with the Nahobino, and in the case of Chi-Yu, they will book it in a straight line like a charging bull if you enter their line of sight. Chi-Yu has a fairly large and memorable role in the mobile title Shin Megami Tensei Liberation D2, as the star of the event, Bewildered God of War. In this event, Chi-Yu's 81 brothers, who are all just, apparently, him, believe that humanity has grown weak in times of peace, so they want to declare war. Chi-Yu is reluctant, even having a conversation with his rival, Huang Di, about why that might be. The brothers decided to wage war against each other to determine who is the best fit to lead the war against humans. This battle causes a thick fog in the real world that makes people want to fight each other, so the Liberators go to investigate it and even team up with Chi-Yu himself to defeat his brother's armies. Chi-Yu forms a really nice rapport with Vince and Gakuto based on their previous experience on the battlefield, praising the latter's skill in combat while critiquing his simp-like nature for Shiori. It's honestly a really nice event for this demon that brings in a lot of the elements of his mythology, and I appreciated his talks with Huang Di about using war and combat to protect rather than conquer. Also, very surprisingly, there are no unique swords or shields that come from fusing Chi-Yu in this game. I thought that was very strange. Now, this last batch of appearances I want to talk about today aren't necessarily focusing on the demon itself, but a distinct skill that carries his scent throughout a few titles. In Devil Summoner Soul Hackers, the character Naomi can't directly summon demons on her vision quest, but does have the ability Overlord, which specifically states in battle that it unleashes the power of Chi-Yu. Something that's really cool is that if you look carefully at the animation for this attack, it doesn't show the Kaneko design, but this actual old Chinese tomb depiction of the deity from the Han Dynasty. Nemissa can also learn this move, but I will admit I associate it a lot more with Naomi. But maybe someone at Atlas disagrees with me, because in Soul Hackers 2, Chi-Yu does not appear, but Overlord makes a comeback as a unique attack that's only usable by Nemissa. The skill no longer mentions him by name, but it does still do several bursts of powerful physical damage to enemies. And that brings me to a game that I always like talking about on this show, Tokyo Mirage Sessions Sharp FE. You know, I really thought one of the weapons in this game would have been named after him, or named after a famous weapon he wielded or something, but that does not seem to be the case. In fact, as far as I could tell, Chi-Yu doesn't really seem to have any sort of signature weapons at all from what I could find. However, the Overlord spell is still here and available on two specific weapons. You've got Kyria's staff weapon, Exodus, and Eleonora's bone weapon, Rheinfleisch. Yeah, I was a bit surprised it wasn't on any of the Chinese weapons either. In this title, the skill actually deals almighty damage and pushes back the enemy's turn, making it a pretty decent skill for either character to have. Also, just a quick clarification, in English versions of Tokyo Mirage Sessions, the spell is called Overload rather than Overlord, but it has the same Japanese name, Sen no Mao, which roughly translates as Demon King of War, which, yeah, definitely applies to Chi-Yu. And just to wrap things up here, does anyone else find it slightly odd that for how often Chi-Yu is associated with bows in this franchise, from making the best bow in Persona 3, to needing a bow-wielding demon to fuse in Persona 5, to his arguable signature ability being connected to a bow in Tokyo Mirage Sessions, that bows are one of the only weapon types that he's not holding in his iconic demon design? Really makes you think, huh? And there you have it, Chi-Yu, the blacksmithing brass bovine being of the battlefield, bravely brandishing blades and bows. Did I leave out something you thought was important? Was I just plain wrong about something? Let me know in the comments below, and don't forget to let me know who you'd like to see me talk about in future episodes. That's going to do it for this episode of the Demonic Compendium, and I will see you next time. But be careful while you rest that a demon doesn't take over your body.